Good morning, teacher and classmates. Today we will talk about the influence of William Shakespeare on the English language and what is the relationship that this author has with syntax. First, let's talk about its influence on the English language. The time of Elizabeth I was a period famous for theater and artistic innovation. William Shakespeare was born there. This author is the most important and famous of Elizabethan literature. His works reflect the characteristic of the English language of that time. Elizabethan English was a language that had freedom of expression because it didn't use as many grammatical rules. This allowed an emotive expression of the characteristic feelings that make up the emotional and dramatic content of Shakespeare's works. Elizabethan English is the transitional stage between Middle and Modern English spoken today. Shakespeare is an English poet and actor who is considered one of the most important writers of the English language, who was born in England in 1564. English language standardization. Shakespeare's work were popular in the late 17th and 18th centuries. He played an important role in the standardization of English. His works helped establish rules and convention for the use of English. Before Shakespeare, there were no specific structures or rules of grammar, vocabulary, and spelling. Shakespeare is famous for coining phrases, words, and grammatical structure that are now used as, for example, in a pickle, which means to be in trouble or in a difficult situation. Let's continue with the next part. Influence on English literature. Shakespeare influenced many novelists, such as William Faulkner, Charles Dickens, and Thomas Hardy. He perfected a technique called long verse. This poetic style is characterized by lines of 10 syllables, 5 stressed syllables, and 5 unstressed syllables. This makes poetry have a musical rhythm. Shakespeare applied this technique to his play to create dialogues and monologues that are poetic and dramatic, contributing to the richness of the story. Influence on vocabulary. Let's continue with the influence on vocabulary. He created words, transformed nouns into verbs, transformed verbs into adjectives, combined words in new ways, added prefixes and suffixes. Shakespeare used prefixes, for example, like an, in, this, and well, to create words. He used suffixes such as less, meant, able, and full. Words like madcap or eccentric person and eyeball are examples of words he coined. Other words unaware, awkward, undress, and willingness. For example, the word unwilling found in several works such as Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare in his works used the relative pronoun which to refer to people. Now, the relative pronoun which is used to refer to things, and for people, we use the relative pronoun who or whom. However, Shakespeare used the relative pronoun which for people. This reflects the linguistic flexibility of his time. In Shakespeare's works, there are pronouns of others that show the social relation of the time. These pronouns are, for example, thou and thee, which were used in informal context, while the pronoun you was used in formal context. Sometimes a character might use you, the pronoun you, and sometimes they might switch to thou and thee to express this day or content. Likewise, Shakespeare created the following words by transforming nouns into verbs, adding prefixes and suffixes. For example, the word bedroom, the word bed, and room were combined. At the time, the word bedroom were called bedchambers or sleep spaces. Fashionable. This word fashionable, created in the tragedy Troilus and Cressida, written in 1602. Nowadays, it means something is attractive, but at first it meant that something coincided with the popular trends of the time. Gossip. Shakespeare was the first to use gossip as a verb. This innovation in language is one of the reasons is attributed to the creation of many words and phrases used in everyday speech. Lonely. Shakespeare transformed the word alone into an adjective. Can be used to express an emotional feeling. It expanded the meaning of the word, allowing further richer and more nuanced expression of the feeling associated with being alone. Anders. The prefix "an", meaning "not", indicates the position of the word. Shakespeare added prefix "an", which means "not", so the words mean to under or take off one's clothes, thus changing the meaning to express the opposite action. Other words he popularized: courtship, helping to popularize a in a romantic context, critical, gloomy, harry, and real, these words. Let's continue with the next part. Shakespeare, in addition, he created common phrases.
As my partner just mentioned, Shakespeare not only create words and terms that are part of the English language that we know now. He also creates some phrases that appears in different books. For example, in this one, The Merchant's Vanish, and published between the year 1596 and 1598, and we can find the phrase "all that glitters is no gold." No, specifically in the Act Two, Scene Three. Well, this phrase means that not everything that looks superficially precious is really valuable or it is true nature. But something that I consider really important to mention is that originally this phrase contained the word glisters instead of glitters, as we can see in the first picture. All that glisters is no gold, no? So this word, the word glitters, began to be used some years later by other authors. For example, John Tride, who was also an English poet, in his poem "The Hind and the Panther," published in the year 1687, he used the word glitters in the first paragraph. In the second picture, we can see in the last part, all as they say, that glitters is no gold. No, so here he in this part, in this picture, he's using the word glitter. So here we can see how this phrase created by Shakespeare has been changing until the form that we know now. Another phrase that appears in this book is "the truth without" in up to scene 3 2. It means that even if you try to stop people from knowing something, they will find out in the end. And the third phrase is "love is blind," a phrase used to express that people don't see the faults of those they are in love with. So these are three phrases that appears in this book, but there are others that we are going to see in the other slide. In Hamlet, there is the phrase "in my heart." We can search this phrase in these little texts. Give me that man that is no passion slave, and I wear him in my heart's skirt, in my heart, as I do thee. So in this part of the text, we can see that the Prince Hamlet used this phrase to say that he have in the center, in the deepest of his heart, a man who is not a slave of passion. No, in other words, what Hamlet was trying to express is that he trusted and believed in that man. So the meaning currently given to this phrase is the belief in something in which one firmly believes, no, even if others don't agree that this belief or knowledge is valid. No. Another of Shakespeare's works is Othello, published in the year 1603. There is the phrase "wear your heart on your sleeve." Uh, well, this phrase we can find in specifically when Jago, the antagonist of Othello, in this book confesses that he did treacherous acts. However, he will continue to hide his true emotions and intentions in order not to be discovered by other people. So the meaning of the phrase is to make your feelings and emotions evident to everyone. And the last phrase that I will show you is this one, all the words stage, uh, which was writing in the book As You Like It. Well, basically, it is a reminder that life is a performance. We'll have a role to play, and it is up to us to decide how we want to play it. Now we're going to continue with the third part of this position, which is the relation between Shakespeare and syntax.
Now let's continue with a relation between Shakespeare and syntax. In modern English, the typical sentence structure follows the SVO pattern: subject, verb, and object. Like these examples, Anya caught the ball and Becky bought a pair of sunglasses. This is as easily understood today as it was in Shakespeare's time. However, Shakespeare frequently took liberties with these structures, often switching these components around. One of his favorite techniques was inversion, commonly using SOV order: subject, object, and verb, where a sentence like Anya caught the ball becomes Anya the ball caught, or Becky a pair of sunglasses bought. This syntax is reminiscent of older Germanic languages, from which English partially descends. Inversion allows Shakespeare to emphasize certain words, particularly verbs, at the end of line or sentences. For instance, uh, he might switch to an OSV structure, as in Anya the ball caught, to emphasize caught rather than Anya, or a pair of sunglasses Becky bows to emphasize both rather than Becky. The flexibility in word order was a feature of the time, and Shakespeare took advantage of it to create more memorable, rhythmic, and emotive language. Shakespeare's manipulation of syntax was not just random, it was an integral part of his poetic craft. He often used this technique in works like Hamlet or The Tempest, where unusual word order serves to heighten the dramatic or emotional impact of a line. Like scholar John Porter Houston, in his book Shakespearean Sentences, highlights how Shakespeare frequently detached phrases at the end of sentences, especially in his later plays, calling it the new syntax of Hamlet. Like this example, himself the primrose path of Dalian streets, and recks not his own red. This type of inversion can confuse modern readers who must make a cognitive effort to understand the complete meaning of a sentence. In a sense, Shakespeare's syntax is designed to elevate the language above everyday speech. By departing from standing word order, he created a more refined form of expression that engaged readers and listeners on multiple levels, requiring them to mentally reorder phrases to grab the full meaning. This elevated language is the hallmark of poetry, turning ordinary speech to something idealized and imaginative. To explain Shakespeare's language and how English was during his time, now let's continue with the next slide. In Shakespeare's time, English was different in many ways. One of the biggest differences was using pronouns like thee, thou, thy, and thine instead of you and your. Thee and thou means you. Now let's see thee that means you as object. I love you. I love thee. Between you and I, between thee and I. Now with thou that means you as subject. You are my friend. Thou art my friend. You can come over. Thou canst come over. You will be happy. Thou wilt be happy. In addition to these pronouns, verb changes slightly when speaking directly to someone using thou. Many verbs in Shakespeare time add st or est when used without. For example, you love your family, thou lovest thy family. You know the truth, thou knowest the truth. If the verb is irregular, it can add just the. For example, you shall, thou shalt. You will, thou wilt. There's also a change with the verb to be. Shakespeare would use thou art instead of saying you are. For example, thou art the one I love. You are the one I love. Thy and thine means your. Thy is used before a noun to indicate possession. For example, thy beauty shines like the star. This means your beauty shines like the star. I like your dress. I like thy dress. If the noun begins with a vowel sound, thy change to thine. For example, thine eyes are like the ocean. This means your eyes are like the ocean. Your house is big. Thine house is big.